Panic doesn't start when shelves are empty. It starts before that. Quietly. Small signals. Slight delays. Subtle changes most people ignore. That's where smart people move. Not when it's obvious. Before it is. Because once panic becomes visible, it's already too late. Stores don't empty slowly. They clear fast. Water first. Then batteries. Then anything people recognize as essential. And within hours, options disappear. Now everyone is reacting. Lines form. Shelves stay empty. Supply doesn't catch up. That's the environment most people prepare for. The visible chaos. But smart people never enter that phase. They move earlier. When everything still looks normal. That's the advantage. Because early movement gives you flex. No competition. Better prices. Time to think clearly. No pressure. No urgency. Just decisions. Now here's the difference in mindset. Most people buy what they recognize. Smart people buy what will matter later. That's not always the same thing. During panic, people grab bottled water, bread, flashlights, obvious items. And those disappear first. But there's another category. Items that solve the same problems. Without the attention. These stay on shelves longer. Not because they're less useful. Because people don't think about them. That's where the real advantage is. Now here's the pattern. Smart buyers don't follow crowds. They move around them. They don't compete for high-demand items. They replace them with better options. Because in a real disruption, the goal isn't to buy what everyone else is buying. It's to secure function. Water, power, food, communication. How you get those functions doesn't matter. That's the shift. Now add one more layer. Timing. Most people wait for confirmation. Alerts. Visible panic. By the time they act, the system is already stressed. Smart people act on signals. Small changes. Increased demand. Early shortages. Service instability. They don't need certainty. They move before certainty exists. Because that's where access still exists. And once access is gone, you're not choosing anymore. You're taking what's left. That's not where you want to be. Because in that phase, quality drops. Options shrink. And every decision becomes harder. So understand this. Preparation isn't about reacting to panic. It's about staying ahead of it. And the people who stay ahead are the ones who buy before anyone else realizes they should. Item 1. Water storage, not bottled water. Everyone reaches for bottled water first. That's why it disappears first. Cases stacked on pallets, gone in hours. People fight over it because it's obvious. Familiar. Immediate. And that's exactly why smart people don't rely on it. They don't compete for water. They secure the ability to store it. That's the difference. Because in the early stage of any disruption, water is still running. The tap works. Pressure is stable, at least for a short window. That's your opportunity. Instead of grabbing a few cases that last days, you secure containers that hold far more. Now you're not limited by what's on the shelf. You're using what's already available in your home. And that changes everything. A single bathtub, properly used, can hold dozens of gallons. Multiple containers multiply that quickly. Now compare that to bottled water. A standard case might give you a day or two for a small family. After that, you're back to searching. Smart people avoid that cycle. They think in volume. They think in time. Because water isn't just for drinking. It's for cooking, cleaning, basic hygiene. And that usage adds up fast. Now here's the second layer. Availability. Water storage items are not high demand during early panic. They sit on shelves. Heavy-duty containers. Storage bags. Large jugs. Most people walk past them. They don't feel urgent. But once water becomes a problem, these disappear too. Just later. That delay is your window. Now here's the key shift. You don't buy water as a product. You build a system. A way to capture, store, and manage it. Because once you have that, you're not dependent on store supply. You're using infrastructure while it still works. And that puts you ahead. While others are carrying cases, you're securing days, sometimes weeks, of water in one move. No competition. No rush. Just positioning. Because smart people don't chase what's disappearing. They secure what replaces it. Item 2. Alternative lighting, not flashlights everyone grabs. When panic starts, people go straight to flashlights. They grab whatever is on the shelf. Cheap LED lights. Battery packs. Anything that turns on. Within hours, it's gone. Now they have light, but only as long as the batteries last. That's the limitation. Because flashlights are dependent systems. Once power runs out, they're done. Smart people don't rely on a single-use solution. They look for lighting that works without constant replacement. That's where the shift happens. Instead of competing for flashlights, they move toward lanterns, oil-based lighting, rechargeable systems, items that most people ignore early. Now here's why this matters. Light isn't optional. When power goes out, darkness changes everything. Movement becomes harder. Tasks slow down. Risk increases. So lighting becomes a constant need, not a temporary one. If your system depends on batteries you can't replace, you're on a countdown. Now look at the alternative. Oil lanterns. Simple. Mechanical. Reliable. No circuits. No charging. Fuel. A single fuel source can provide dozens of hours of steady light. Now compare that to a flashlight. Strong beam, but short duration. And once it dies, you're back in the dark. Now here's the second layer. Availability. During early panic, nobody is thinking about fuel-based lighting. They go straight to electronics. So lanterns and lamp oil often remain on shelves longer. That's your window. You secure both. The device. The fuel. Now you're not dependent on batteries. You've created a system. Now add another advantage. Coverage. Lanterns light entire rooms. Flashlights light narrow paths. That difference matters when you're operating inside a space. Cooking. Organizing. Moving safely. One light source, wider function. Now shift your mindset. You don't just want light. You want reliable light. Light that doesn't depend on fragile supply chains. Light that works when everything else stops. Because when the grid goes down, the people who planned for duration outlast the ones who planned for convenience. Item 3. High-calorie basics, not comfort food. When panic starts, people don't think in terms of survival. They think in terms of familiarity. They grab what they normally eat. Ready meals. Packaged comfort food. It feels right. It's also inefficient. Because most of those items are low in calories relative to their size. They take up space, but don't sustain you for long. That's the problem. Smart people don't shop for comfort. They shop for fuel. Calories per unit. Because in a real disruption, food isn't about variety. It's about energy. Now look at the pattern. The obvious aisles get cleared first. Canned soups. Ready meals. Popular brands. Gone quickly. But other sections stay full longer. Baking aisle. International foods. Basic ingredients. Not because they're less useful, but because people don't associate them with immediate survival. That's your advantage. Now here's what smart buyers look for. Dense calorie sources. Items that deliver more energy in less volume. Things like peanut butter, coconut milk, rice and dry staples. One container of cooking oil holds thousands of calories. Compare that to a stack of snack packs. It's not even close. Now here's the second layer. Versatility. Basic ingredients can be used in multiple ways. You're not locked into one type of meal. You can combine, stretch, and adapt based on what you have. That flexibility extends your food supply. Now compare that to ready-made meals. Once they're gone, they're gone. No adjustment. No extension. Now here's the key shift. You don't shop based on what you like. You shop based on what sustains you. Because in a limited resource environment, preference becomes secondary. Function comes first. Now add one more advantage. Availability. These high-efficiency items are often overlooked in early panic. People walk past them. They don't feel urgent. So they stay on shelves longer. That gives you time. And time means choice. Because while others are fighting over what's obvious, you're quietly securing what actually lasts. item for fuel before it becomes the bottleneck. Most people forget about fuel until they need it. That's the mistake. Because fuel is not just for movement. It's behind almost every survival function. Cooking, boiling water, even basic sanitation. Without fuel, half the supplies people buy become useless. You can have food, but no way to cook it. Water, but no way to purify it. A space, but no way to heat it. That's the dependency chain. And most people don't see it until it breaks. Now look at what happens during early panic. People rush for food and water. Fuel stays on shelves a little longer. Not forever, but long enough for smart buyers to move. That's the window. Now here's what smart people do differently. They secure small, controlled fuel systems. Not large, complex setups. Simple tools, portable stoves, small fuel canisters, backup ignition sources. Reliable, easy to manage. Because complexity fails under pressure. Now here's why timing matters. Fuel doesn't disappear slowly. Once people realize they need it, it's gone fast. And unlike food, you can't easily replace it. No fuel means no heat, no hot water, no cooking. Everything becomes harder. Now here's the second layer. Efficiency. Smart buyers don't just think about having fuel. They think about how long it lasts. Controlled use. Small systems that stretch supply over time. Because burning through fuel quickly puts you back at zero. And in a disrupted environment, there is no quick resupply. Now compare two people. One buys food and water. The other buys food, water, and fuel. Same starting point. Different outcome. Because one can use their resources fully. The other cannot. Now here's the key shift. Fuel is not an extra. It's a multiplier. It makes everything else work. Without it, your system is incomplete. Now add one more advantage. Availability. Early on, this aisle is quiet. No crowds. No urgency. People walk past it. That's your moment. Because smart people don't wait until something becomes obvious. They secure it while it's still ignored. And by the time everyone else realizes the need, they're already done. Item 5. Medical basics, from the aisles nobody checks. When panic starts, the pharmacy section gets hit fast. Painkillers disappear. Bandages go next. Anything labeled first aid is gone within hours. That's predictable. Because people recognize those items immediately. They associate them with emergencies. So they rush in early. But here's what most people don't realize. The same function exists in other aisles. And those aisles stay untouched, at least for a while. That's where smart buyers go. Now look at the pattern. Pet care section. Livestock aisle. General utility supplies. These areas often carry products with similar purposes. Care. Cleaning solutions. Basic treatment supplies. Different packaging. Same function. But because the label doesn't say, for humans, people ignore them. That delay is your advantage. Now here's why this matters. In any disruption, medical issues don't stop. Minor cuts, burns, infections. Normally, you'd rely on clinics or pharmacies. But when access is limited, you become your own first responder. And without basic supplies, small problems become bigger ones. That's the risk. Now here's the second layer. Volume and cost. Items outside the pharmacy aisle are often cheaper, less restricted. You get more supply for less effort. And in a situation where resupply is uncertain, volume matters. Now here's the key shift. You don't focus on labels. You focus on function. What does the item do? If it cleans, protects, or treats, it has value. Now add another advantage. Availability under pressure. While everyone crowds the pharmacy, these sections remain quiet. No lines. No rush. Just time to choose what you need. That difference keeps you ahead. Because panic doesn't remove resources instantly. It redistributes attention. And smart people move where attention isn't. Now understand this. Medical readiness isn't about having a perfect kit. It's about having the ability to respond quickly, effectively, without dependency. Because in the first phase of disruption, you won't have support. You'll have what you secured early. And that's what makes the difference. Item 6. Water purification, not just water itself. Most people think water equals safety. It doesn't. Water is only useful if it's clean. And that's where they fail. They focus on storing water, but ignore how to make more. That works until it runs out. And it always does. Now they're stuck, surrounded by water sources they can't safely use. That's the gap. Smart people close that gap early. They don't just store water. They secure the ability to purify it, because that turns a limited supply into a renewable one. Now here's what happens during panic. Nobody rushes to purification tools first. They grab bottled water, filters, tablets, treatment solutions. Those stay on shelves longer. Not forever, but long enough. That's your window. Now here's why this matters. Water systems can fail in multiple ways. It's not just about access. It's about quality, contamination, pressure drops, system instability. Even if water is available, it may not be safe. And without a way to treat it, you're taking a risk every time you drink. Now look at the advantage of purification. You're no longer dependent on one source. You can use tap water, collected rain, natural sources. As long as you can treat it, that expands your options. And more options mean less pressure. Now here's the second layer. Longevity. Stored water is a countdown. Purification is an extension. It buys you time. And time is what most people run out of first. Now shift your mindset. You don't just want supply. You want control over supply. Because once you control the process, you're not waiting for stores to restock. You're not competing with others. You're operating independently. Now add one more advantage. Portability. Purification tools are compact. Easy to store. Easy to carry. High impact, low space. That makes them one of the most efficient items you can secure early. And yet, most people don't think about them until it's too late. Because they focus on what they can see, not what they might need next. Smart people do the opposite. They prepare for the second problem before the first one fully appears. Item 7. Basic tools, not specialized gear. When people think about preparedness, they imagine complex equipment. Multi-tools with dozens of functions. Advanced kits. Specialized survival gear. It looks impressive. But under pressure, simple tools outperform complex ones. Every time. Because complexity requires time, focus, and familiarity. And in the first phase of a disruption, you don't have extra time. You don't have perfect conditions. So anything complicated becomes a liability. Smart people understand this early. They don't chase advanced gear. They secure basic tools that solve immediate problems. Now look at what those tools actually do. They let you open things, cut materials, fix small issues, adjust your environment. Simple actions, but critical ones. Now here's the pattern most people miss. Basic tools are everywhere in a store. Hardware aisle, automotive section, even general utility shelves. And during early panic, these areas stay relatively calm. Because people don't associate them with urgency. They go straight for food and water. That's your window. Now here's why this matters. Problems don't stop during disruptions. Things break. Materials need to be adjusted. Barriers need to be created or removed. Without tools, you're limited to what already exists. With tools, you can adapt. That's the difference. Now add another layer. Durability. Basic tools are designed for repeated use. No batteries. No complex parts. They work when you need them. Every time. Now compare that to specialized gear. If it fails, you often can't fix it. And replacement isn't available. Now here's the key shift. You don't prepare for perfect scenarios. You prepare for problems. And problems are solved with simple, reliable tools. Not complicated systems. Now add one more advantage. Low attention. Nobody is fighting over a basic wrench or a simple cutting tool during early panic. That keeps the environment calm. You move without pressure. You choose what you need. and you leave before those items become scarce. Because eventually, they do. Everything does. The only question is timing. And smart people always move before timing becomes a problem. Item 8. Hygiene supplies, before they become irreplaceable. Hygiene is one of the first things people ignore. And one of the fastest things to become a problem. When panic starts, attention goes to food, water, power. Everything else feels secondary. Hygiene gets pushed down the list. That's the mistake. Because hygiene isn't comfort. It's prevention. Without it, small issues turn into serious problems. Infections, skin conditions, illness spreading in close environments. And once those start, they're harder to control than hunger. Now look at the pattern. During early panic, hygiene aisles don't clear immediately. They lag behind. People don't rush for them right away. That creates a window. Smart people use that window. They secure. So, sanitizers, basic cleaning supplies, personal hygiene products, simple items, but high impact. Now here's why this matters. In a disrupted environment, normal systems stop working. Water access may be limited. Waste management becomes inconsistent. Living spaces become more confined. That increases exposure. And without hygiene control, problems spread fast. Now here's the second layer. Replacement. Unlike food, hygiene items are not easily substituted. You can adjust meals. You can stretch calories. But hygiene products serve specific functions. Once they're gone, you don't replace them easily. That makes them high value over time. Now here's the key shift. You don't wait for hygiene to become a problem. You prevent it early. Because prevention costs less than recovery. Boys. Now add another advantage. Barter value. In extended situations, hygiene products become highly sought after. Not because they're rare, but because people didn't prioritize them early. That increases their value later. Now you're not just maintaining your own condition. You have something others may need. Now understand this. Clean conditions are controlled conditions. And control reduces risk. Because when your environment is stable, everything else becomes easier to manage. Smart people don't overlook that. They secure hygiene early, while others are still focused on what feels urgent. Because what feels urgent isn't always what matters most. Item 9. Information tools, before everything goes silent. Most people think information will always be there. Phones, internet, updates, constant access. Until it's not. That's the blind spot. Because when systems get stressed, information becomes limited. Signals drop. Networks slow down. Power outages cut access completely. And suddenly, you don't know what's happening beyond your immediate area. That's where most people lose awareness. They rely entirely on digital systems. When those systems fail, they're operating blind. Smart people prepare for that early. They don't assume connectivity will last. They secure simple, independent ways to stay informed. Now here's what that looks like. Battery-powered or hand-crank radios. Offline maps. Printed instructions or reference material. Nothing complex. Just reliable. Because these tools don't depend on the same systems that are failing. They work when everything else doesn't. Now here's why this matters. Information shapes decisions. If you don't know what's happening, where issues are spreading, which areas are stable, you're guessing. And guessing under pressure leads to mistakes. Now add another layer. Timing. Information early is advantage. Information late is reaction. If you receive updates after everyone else, you're always behind. Smart people reduce that delay. They keep access to basic, continuous information, even when networks fail. Now here's the second part most people overlook. Clarity. Too much information can be as bad as none. During panic, rumors spread fast. Conflicting reports. Incomplete data. People react to noise. Smart people filter. They rely on fewer sources, but more reliable ones. That keeps decisions clean. Now here's the key shift. You don't just want access to information. You want control over how you receive it. Independent. Simple. Consistent. Because when communication systems break down, Those who can still receive signals. Stay ahead. 9 categories. Water storage. Reliable lighting. High-calorie food. Fuel. Medical basics. Water purification. Basic tools. Hygiene supplies. Information access. Every one of these solves a core function. Not comfort. Not convenience. Function. Now look at the pattern. Most people wait for panic. Then they react. They follow the crowd. They compete for what's obvious. And by the time they act, options are already limited. Smart people do the opposite. They move early. They avoid crowded aisles. They focus on what others overlook. Because panic doesn't remove resources instantly. It shifts attention. And where attention goes, supply disappears. So the goal isn't to be faster than everyone else. It's to be earlier. Because early means full shelves, better choices, no pressure. Late means empty aisles, limited options, forced decisions. That's the difference. Now understand this. Preparation isn't about predicting the exact event. It's about understanding patterns. What disappears first? What gets ignored? What becomes valuable later? And once you understand those patterns, you don't need to guess. You move with confidence. Before anyone else realizes they should. Because when panic finally shows up, you're already done.